If you want to find out which part of your code is running slow, then Gramex.debug helps you provide some timers and profilers. Let's start with the timer. Timer is a function that you can import from Gramex.debug. And anytime you run timer, it prints whatever you call it with, like start or run some code is printed here. And it also prints the time from the last call of timer. So this one says it took 0.012 seconds or 12 milliseconds from the time the previous timer code ran. Let's take a look at this in the live code. So I have a your module.run of handler, which sets x is 10, y is 20, and returns a random number. So what I'll do is from gramex.debug import timer and use that timer here to say timer of, let's say, start and let's say done, or and we'll call this, let's say, result, which we will import as result is equal to this. And we are timing how long it takes to calculate these random number generations. Let's load the output. And this requires a restart. Right. So let's start. Okay. So it's saying that start from the previous time the timer was called, which is the start of the application, took about 2.5 seconds. But the random number generation itself took about 14 milliseconds. Reload it again. The next time the random number generation took 12 milliseconds. The next time it took 13 milliseconds. The next time it took 13 milliseconds, and so on. 16 milliseconds this time. This is one way of profiling it. Another way of profiling it is if you want to take a certain block of code and profile it, you can also do with timer and run some code. So let's say I import capital timer here, and I'll say with capital timer of random number generation. Within this, run this code and then return the result. What this allows us to do is take this entire block and specifically time this block instead of putting in a print statement at the start and a print statement at the end. It'll only print the part that we are interested in. So let's reload, and it says random number generation effectively took, well, 0 seconds. Now that might be because the numbers are too small. So let's import time and explicitly sleep for, let's say, 0.02 seconds. So that's going to take at least 20 milliseconds to run. Reload, and yeah, now it's saying 27 milliseconds, 33 milliseconds, and so on. Whereas the earlier numbers were too small for the timer to detect and calculate. A third thing that we can do is use the line profiler. The line profiler actually requires the line profiler module, which you can install using Conda or pip at the moment. So I'm going to stop Gramex first and pip install line underscore profiler. This will, in my case, it's already installed. So it will just check the dependencies and verify and say that it's already installed. But let's run Gramex. But before that, let's remove all of this code and get back to the original code. Now, what we'll do is import line profile and use line profile as a decorator at line profile. This will now take every line and show how long the line takes to execute. So let's run this. And now we can see that the percentage of time that is being spent in the first line is 42%, second line is 1.2%, and 56% of time being spent on the next one. Let's run it again, and we can see that the results are reasonably similar. But effectively, as I keep rerunning it, the time that it takes for the first statement is not much. The bulk of the time is being spent in the random number generation. And if there is anything that I need to optimize, that is the one that I would need to optimize. So what we've looked at is 3 ways of profiling. Timer, where you can put in a timer at any point and it will tell you the time that elapsed from the last time we called timer. Second, a timer block, which allows us to calculate the time within a block. And the most flexible of all, which is line profiler, that tells us the exact amount of time that it takes for each line and giving us an indication of what to optimize first, specifically by looking at the percentage time column.